So, it is about the end of February. I had just seen The Handmaiden a day or two prior. It's a movie that struck a disgustingly perverse but romantic chord with me. At the time, I couldn't even fathom the amount of great things it had done, to a point where it did not even occur to me until a day after, or even a couple months after that it's a really good movie. It's a super good movie, and I fell in love with the movie. But I think most of the reason why I grew accustomed to loving it has to do with the face of the film. Kim Min-hee as Lady Hirako, and her being, really pretty. Even if I can't recall myself how great I find her and describe in perfect words and how to do so, it was credited well in the New York Times top 25 greatest actors of the 21st century so far that she goes big and small, veers from monstrous to mousy, and alternately hides a character's feelings and lets them run amok. Her body rocks and her face distorts as fear and pain give way to ecstasy and release. The character is a mystery that the movie teases but Kim deliriously unlocks. I had to rewatch her again as if it fulfilled some sort of screen crush I had for her, but after I thought about it a bit more, I did not want to rewatch her through the replay of Handmaiden, as The Handmaiden was just a bit too strong and intense for me to rewatch just yet. So I did what I do with every performer I'm fascinated with. Open up Letterboxd, search up the movie, scroll down to the casting list, click the profile, go through the filmography and choose. I do not know yet. When I first started diving through the filmography, I had noticed that there were really not that many options for Kim Min-hee. There were a few movies I had found for which she had acted in prior to The Handmaiden, but really came up short when I realized that most of the movies she had been in were pretty much impossible to find here in the US. But even so, if I had seen them, I probably would have been disappointed anyways based on reviews I found of them. The reception of Kim was quite poor. Critics repetitively listed negative factors in her performance, such as being stale, superficial, and flaccid. The Korean film site Han Cinema once noted, Kim didn't appear to have the acting skills to match her attractive appearances. Attractive, but blank. So this meant I was restricted down only to the films she had done after The Handmaiden, which essentially meant only her work with a small micro-indie Korean director, sang-soo. I definitely had heard of sang-soo's films before this instance in February, as I noticed I recognized the poster for On the Beach at Night Alone from the many Letterboxd lists it appears on. But something about it swept me away from starting Hong's filmography from there, as it felt too important to be a first. It looked like a cheese that I must develop a taste for it before I try it, to truly savor it. So, what I did was look on to find a more fitting option for my preconceived tastes by going for a much easier looking option that piqued my interest. The film that caught me first was through its poster, which now I realize it emphasizes Hong's preference for minimalism and simplicity, as it likes to use negative space in its design. The poster I'm talking about is the one for The Woman Who Ran, and with it rolling only at a swift 77 minutes and me having just enough credit left on my iTunes gift card at the time to rent the movie, I knew I had to give it a try at least. The film follows the same sense of aesthetics as the poster follows. A small sense of space is done through minimal effort as it follows an almost invisible plotline. The Woman Who Ran is slow and simple, but it isn't a film that feels slow because it is simple. Not a slow burn, but not a waste of time by any means. A movie that's more concerned on how it feels rather than how it wants you to feel. This is how it distinguishes itself as an auteur-driven film. In relative terms to films dominating the box office today, this is a movie where nothing really happens. If I were first to state the plotline, I'd only mention it to be a film where the protagonist, gam-hee, circulates and contemplates her life as she begins interacting to and around people from her past. In short, it is a movie about people talking. talking about what happened and what's to come. A revelation in character as Gam-hee comes in terms with what she once had. An experimental procedure of the age-old method of show don't tell through dialogue. Conversations are shot in stilted camera positions with the occasional exception of a camera zoom to elaborate slight emotional effects that certain lines have on her. But still, most of the shots are composed as if they are paintings of the past, which Gam-hee herself had longed for. But also, the film does well in holding the shots long enough to express why she left in the first place. Looking back now, I could see that The Woman Who Ran and most of Hong's films are directly influenced by the late French New Wave director Eric Romer, and more specifically The Green Ray, with its portrayal of human anguish and nightmarish display of remaining existentially frozen in a time that never stops moving. But when I first watched the film at the end of February, I was moved by its slowness, its lack of telling in a film full of words, and its fruition of absence. An absence which lingers on in a way through the mind, which made myself feel anguish in its absence of literal telling, as I begged for that feel that I'm so used to receiving in cinema. Kristen Yunsu Kim said it best in her article for Criterion on Kim Min-hee and On the Beach at Night Alone when she said, "She has proven to herself to be the kind of performer who fills in the blanks. Hong's camera often remains stationary. In Kim's many quiet scenes within his still frames, solitary rocks, idle moments in bed serve as windows in her character's textured personalities." I praise Kim's performance for this very feeling. She goes through the film so bare and closed off, yet her face so subtly complex and lost that it begs for a wonder. She simply exists, yet this existence is not blankness. It creates a contemplative mood that invites us to imagine the inner lives of her characters. Another major thing that stuck with me was Gam-hee's hairstyle and her clothes, which soon later inspired me to get clothes in the same color set. After seeing The Woman Who Ran, my fanaticism for Kim Min-hee grew, and I also had developed a taste for director Hong. This prompted me to a new ritual. At the end of each month, I must watch a new Sang-soo film starring Kim Min-hee at the end of each month.